Russell Martin's rebuild at Ibrox has been anything but quiet. It's been relentless, aggressive, and above all deliberate. 10 new signings already through the door, and yet it still doesn't feel like the work is done. And now, with most areas of the pitch, addressed attention quietly shifts to a role that has been left largely untouched this summer. The goalkeeper. While Jack Butland has firmly established himself as one of the best in the league since arriving, Rangers are not standing still. Behind the scenes, the club is preparing for what could be a major shift in the goalkeeping department, and the latest name linked to Ibrox might surprise a few people. Arsenal's Carl Hine is being touted as the next arrival, and if this deal goes through, it's a move that says a lot about the direction Martin wants to take this squad. Hine is not just any backup option. He's a full international cap 39 times by Estonia and has twice been voted his country's Young Footballer of the Year. At just 23 years of age, he already carries more international experience than most players 10 years older. But while his reputation at home continues to grow, his club career has been more complex. Since joining Arsenal back in 2018, Hine has been in and around the first team without ever properly breaking through. Just one senior appearance for the Gunners and a series of loan moves that have had mixed results. The most recent of those came in Spain with a loan spell at Real Valladolid. On paper, it was a disaster. The club finished bottom of La Liga with just 14 points and conceded an eye-watering 90 goals across the season. Hine played 31 of those matches. He was the man between the sticks in what was statistically one of the worst defensive seasons in Europe. But context matters. He was often exposed by a defense that couldn't protect him, playing in a system that left him vulnerable time and time again. And if you dig deeper, individual errors weren't the main problem. His reflexes, shot stopping, and command of the box still drew praise in a chaotic environment. Back at Ibrox, Jack Butland remains the clear number one. Since his arrival, he's been nothing short of sensational. His performances in the Champions League qualifiers, especially in that crucial win over Panathinaikos, reminded everyone exactly why Rangers fought so hard to sign him. He's been calm, commanding, and consistent, and three qualities every top goalkeeper needs. So if Carl Hine does make the move north, all signs point to him being brought in as cover-nut competition. At least not immediately, and that's probably the right call. Because dropping Butland, given his current form, would be unthinkable. Fans know it, the coaching staff knows it, and surely Hine himself would understand that. But this is not just about the starting 11. Martin is clearly planning for the long term. A season at Rangers means a packed calendar. Domestic League 2 cups and European commitments. Injury, suspensions, and fatigue are inevitable. You need depth, you need options, and you need players who are good enough to step in without the entire structure falling apart. Hine fits that mold. Young, talented, and with enough experience to not be overwhelmed by the occasion. And let's not forget the transfer fee involved. If reports are accurate, Rangers would be getting a goalkeeper who's been on the books of a Premier League giant for over half a decade, who's played against top European nations on the international stage for a fraction of the cost you'd expect in today's market. That's smart business. It's forward thinking. And it's exactly the kind of move that can quietly turn out to be a masterstroke come the business end of the season. Away from the goalkeeper situation, there's also been major movement on the attacking front. And let me tell you, Rangers might have pulled off one of the steals of the summer. Oliver Antman, the Finnish winger who lit up the Dutch Eredivisie. Last season is now officially a Rangers player. And the numbers behind this deal are staggering. Antman, who was a standout for Go Ahead Eagles, has been valued by some analysts at 28 million euros. 28 million! Yet Rangers picked him up for just £4 million. That's a fraction of the cost. To put it into perspective, one respected European scout went public saying Rangers had robbed the living daylight out of the Dutch side. His words, not mine. According to him, replacing Antman with a player of similar quality would cost Go Ahead close to 30 million euros. That tells you everything about the caliber of the player Rangers just signed. And it's not just hype. Antman isn't some YouTube highlight merchant. His metrics are outstanding. High finishing probability, strong defensive work rate for a winger, and a surprisingly solid passing game. In other words, he's not just a flair player. He's efficient. He's hard-working. And he fits perfectly into the high-intensity system Russell Martin is trying to implement. So while the Carl Hine deal might seem quiet and understated compared to the buzz around Antman, it's part of the same bigger picture. Martin isn't just trying to build a team for now. He's assembling a squad, a group of players who can rotate, challenge each other, and maintain a high level across every competition. That's how you close the gap on Celtic. That's how you make a real push for silverware both at home and abroad. And speaking of silverware, John Souttar is one of those players who might not grab headlines every week, but whose importance to this team can't be overstated. The defender is now in the final year of his contract, and while there's still no clarity on his long-term future, his commitment on the pitch has never been in question. After captaining the side in the 3-0 win over Victoria Pleasant, Souttar delivered one of his best performances in a Rangers shirt. Solid, composed, and vocal. Everything you want from a centre half in a European night at Ibrox. When asked about his contract situation after the game, Souttar kept it simple. He said he hadn't heard much about it recently and that his focus was entirely on football, but his message was clear. He loves the club, he loves being here, and every time he steps on a pitch, he gives it absolutely everything. That kind of mentality is gold. In a team that's still finding its full identity under a new manager, having players like Souttar setting the standard is invaluable. And the partnership he's forming at the back with Leon King, or even with new arrival Yefte when deployed centrally, is something to keep an eye on. The chemistry is growing, the understanding is getting better with every game, and the clean sheet against Victoria Pleasant was no fluke. That was a composed professional display from a defensive unit that's been through a lot of changes lately. Rangers now sit in a strong position heading into the second leg of their Champions League qualifier. A 3-goal cushion is nothing to take for granted, especially in Europe, but it's a massive advantage. And with a potential playoff clash against either Club Brugge or Esbjerg looming on the horizon, this is the kind of momentum that could carry them all the way back to the group stages. And let's not overlook the decisions Martin made in that match. Dropping both James Tavernier and Nicholas Raskin from the starting 11 was a bold move. Two players considered undroppable by many fans left out of a crucial European fixture. But the message was clear. No one's place is guaranteed. Performances matter. Work rate matters, and if you don't deliver, someone else will be ready to step in. That kind of internal competition breeds success. It keeps players sharp, it keeps standards high. What's even more impressive is how the squad responded. The first half against Victoria Pleasant was arguably the best 45 minutes Rangers have played this season. High tempo, slick passing, intelligent movement, and an energy that completely overwhelmed the Czech side. That's exactly the kind of football Martin wants to see. And if they can replicate that more consistently, especially in the league, they'll be right there challenging for the title. For now, though, all eyes are on the next moves in the window. Whether Carl Hine arrives or not, it's clear that Rangers are not done. The squad is being built with purpose. Every signing has a profile, a role, a clear reason behind the move. There's no scattergun recruitment here. It's calculated, it's methodical, and it's setting up what could be one of the most exciting seasons at Ibrox in recent memory. And that excitement isn't just about new faces. It's about identity. Russell Martin isn't trying to simply patch holes. He's trying to imprint a philosophy. Anyone watching the way Rangers played against Victoria Pleasant could feel it. The ball moved quicker. The pressing was sharper. Players were constantly looking to break lines to play on the front foot to dominate possession with a purpose. That's not something that happens overnight. It takes training, repetition, belief. But most of all, it takes players who buy into the system, and what we're seeing right now is a group that's beginning to trust the process. Souttar spoke about that after the final whistle. For him, it wasn't just about winning, it was about how the team won. He highlighted the first half performance as exactly the kind of football Rangers want to play. Fast, composed, aggressive with the ball. It wasn't about grinding out a result, it was about asserting themselves, setting the tone, and there's a real sense that for the first time in a while, Rangers are beginning to develop a style of play that feels modern, effective, and most importantly, sustainable. That's key. Because in recent seasons, the team often felt like it lacked an identity when things got tough. One week they press high, the next they sit deep. One game they dominate the ball, the next they look reactive. But under Martin, the message seems clearer. He wants control. He wants intensity. And he's building a squad that can deliver it for 90 minutes, not just in flashes. You can see it in the way the midfield is shaping up too. The addition of players like Mohamed Diomande and Kieran Dowell has added energy and technical quality in the center of the park. Suddenly, Rangers look more dynamic. There's more movement off the ball, more runners from deep, more risk in possession. But it's controlled risk. The midfield doesn't just recycle possession, it looks to break lines. It's brave, and that's a refreshing change. There's also a sense of healthy unpredictability. When Martin rested players like Tavernier and Raskin, many expected the team to drop in quality. Instead, the opposite happened. The team looked fresher, hungrier. That says a lot about the competition for places right now. No one is safe. That's the kind of environment where players push each other to their limits. It keeps everyone sharp. And it also protects against complacency, something that's cost Rangers dearly in past campaigns. The mental side of the game is just as important as the tactical one, and Martin knows it. That's why his approach has been holistic, not just focusing on the match day 11, but on building a culture. You see it in the way the players interact during games, in the way substitutes are engaged in the body language on the touchline. This is a squad that feels connected. That matters especially when things get tough, which they inevitably will. Because let's be clear, Celtic aren't going anywhere. They remain the benchmark in Scottish football. And if Rangers are serious about reclaiming the title, they can't afford to just match Celtic. They need to surpass them in every department. That means being fitter, being smarter, being more resilient. The margin for error is tiny. One draw in a game you should win can be the difference between glory and frustration. That's why the reaction to the opening day draw with Motherwell was so important. It wasn't just a slip-up, it was a wake-up call. And the way the team responded against Victoria Pleasant showed character. They didn't sulk. They didn't play it safe. They came out with intent. That first half wasn't just better. It was dominant. It was a statement. Of course, consistency is the next step. It's no good playing well in Europe if you drop points domestically the following weekend. That's where previous Rangers sides have struggled. They'd rise for the big games but drop their level when facing so-called lesser opposition. Martin needs to build a team that plays the same way no matter who they're facing. The standards can't drop. The intensity can't drop. Because over the course of a long season, those are the games that win or lose titles. And let's not underestimate the psychological boost of a good European run. If Rangers can get past Victoria Pleasant and then get through the playoff round, they'll be back in the Champions League group stages. And that changes everything. Financially, it's massive. But even more than that, it raises the profile of the club. It gives players a platform. It makes Ibrox a more attractive destination for future signings. And it instills belief. Playing against Europe's elite reminds everyone, players and fans alike, of what this club is capable of. But to get there, Rangers need to be ruthless. They need to finish the job in the second leg. They need to carry that momentum into the league, and they need to stay healthy. That's where the depth of the squad comes into play again. Injuries will happen, fatigue will set in, so having reliable options like Carl Hine waiting in the wings becomes vital, because one slip in a key position, one red card, one muscle pull, and suddenly everything changes. That's why the recruitment this summer feels so different. It's not just about names, it's about profiles. Antman isn't just a flashy winger. He's statistically one of the most effective wide players in their Divizia last season. Hine isn't just a young keeper from Arsenal. He's an international with real minutes at a high level. There's method behind every move, and that's why there's growing optimism around Ibrox. This doesn't feel like a rushed rebuild. It feels strategic. Even the leadership group within the squad seems to be evolving. With Tavernier rested, Souttar stepped in as captain and looked every bit the part. That kind of flexibility is invaluable. You need leaders across the pitch. Not just one voice, but a chorus. Players who can step up, take responsibility, and guide the team through difficult moments. And Souttar's performance, both in terms of his defensive solidity and his calm presence, was a reminder that leadership can come from many places. His partnership at the back with new signing Yefte is another exciting development. It's early days, but there's already a chemistry there. Communication, positioning, timing. It all looks sharp. And clean sheets in back-to-back European ties are no accident. That's a sign of progress. That's a sign that things are beginning to click. And it's worth noting how young this squad actually is. A lot of the key players being brought in are in their early 20s. That's a clear shift from previous windows where more experienced, but often less dynamic, players were prioritized. Martin wants youth. He wants energy, but he also wants players with room to grow. That way, Rangers aren't just building for this season. They're building a foundation that can last. The fans can sense it. There's a buzz again. It's not just about the results. It's about the way the team is playing, the way they're carrying themselves, the ambition being shown off the pitch, and the work rate being shown on it. And for a support as passionate and demanding as the Rangers faithful, that goes a long way. Of course, no one's getting carried away just yet. It's August. There's a long way to go, but the signs are good. The squad looks balanced. The manager has a clear vision. The performances are trending upwards. And crucially, the players seem hungry. That hunger is what will drive them. Through the long winter nights away to Livingston, through the tight 1-0s at Pittodrie, through the European away legs in hostile environments. If they can maintain that edge, that fire, then this could be the start of something very special. Russell Martin knows that success at a club like Rangers isn't just about tactics or signings. It's about culture. It's about standards. It's about turning potential into performance week in, week out. And right now it feels like the pieces are starting to fall into place. The rest of the league will be watching closely. So will Celtic. But inside Ibrox, the message is clear. This isn't about chasing anyone. It's about setting their own pace, creating their own identity, and writing their own story. Because for Rangers, the journey is never just about where they are. It's about where they're going. And if this summer is anything to go by, they're heading in the right direction. Fast. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Callum Wilson, a seasoned goal machine, Fada Premier League, is being tipped for a sensational move. Tay Rangers, we whispers, growing louder across Govan and beyond. Word on the street is the striker's been spotted in Glasgow under the radar, sparking talk that a deal with Newcastle United could be closer than folk realize. Nay official lines have been drawn yet, but the buzz is real. Wilson, still sharp in front of goal at 33, could be just the man to lead the line at Ibrox as the Gers gear up for another serious crack at domestic and European honours. A proven finisher, his track record speaks volumes. And if this rumour has legs, Rangers might well be pulling off one of the signings of the summer. There's talk of a 2-year deal on the table, hinging on appearances and goal bonuses. And if all goes to plan, Wilson could be stepping out onto the Ibrox turf sooner rather than later. For now, it remains a tale of speculation. But when rumours get this loud in Scottish football, there's often fire behind the smoke. The fans are already buzzing at the thought, dreaming of the goals he could bag in blue. Bringing in a player like Callum Wilson would send a serious message to the rest of the Premiership. And take Celtic, nay less. The Englishman scored over 80 goals in the top flight down south, and while some might say his best years are behind him, there's no doubt he still knows where the net is. Rangers have been in the market for firepower, and Wilson, why his experience and instinct, could be the man they step up. His arrival would shake up the squad, offering leadership, sharp movement, and that killer touch in the box that the Gers have lacked at times. Supporters have been crying out for a proven number 9, and Wilson could be that missing piece. There's even talk that his signing could see a shift in formation, allowing the manager to go wide 2 up top. That would be a bold move, but one that suits Wilson's style. And let's be honest, the pull of playing in front of a packed Ibrox on a European night, leading the line against Celtic in a derby, that's the sort of thing a striker like him lives for. Folk are beginning to believe this might actually happen. There's more to this rumor than just tactics and goals, though. There's a sentimental side to it that's caught the attention of fans and pundits alike. It's been said Wilson's had a soft spot for Rangers for years. Growing up watching them in Europe, admiring the roar of Ibrox and the blue sea of scarves. If there's truth in that, this move becomes more than just a transfer. It becomes a story. Some believe that's exactly what's swaying him to consider making the leap north, especially if his time in Newcastle is winding down. There's nay word of contract renewal there, and the timing of all this seems a wee bit too coincidental. Inside sources say the manager sees Wilson as a key part of his rebuild, wanting a leader in the dressing room and a clinical edge up top. Lad's a battler, and he's no stranger to pressure. With social media awash with fans pleading for the move, posting goal reels and chant ideas, it feels like the city's already making room for him. Aye, there's been no official nod, but the noise is deafening. Should this move come off, it'll likely alter the course of Rangers' season entirely. The gaffer's been crying out for consistency in front of goal, and Wilson, if he stays fit, could deliver that in spades. His arrival would free up others to play to their strengths, allowing for a more fluid, dynamic attack. It's easy to imagine him linking up with the likes of Todd Cantwell or Tom Lawrence, providing a focal point and scoring the chances that went begging last season. On the continent, his noose and noose could be vital. He's no stranger to tough. Away ties and backs against the wall football. The structure of the deal's rumored to be smart. Base wage, performance add-ons, all geared to get the best out of him without overstretching the wage bill. Medical reports, according to whispers, have been positive when they major red flags. All signs point to this being a calculated risk with high upside. If Rangers can get him through the door, they'd no just be adding goals. They'd be bringing in a figure of stature, someone who commands respect. It could be the jolt the club needs. As the speculation rumbles on, many are already calling this the most exciting bit of transfer chatter to hit Gavin in years. If Wilson does pull on the blue jersey, it'll mark a shift not just in squad quality, but in ambition. The Gers want silverware, they want progress in Europe, and they want to show they can compete for top talent. Wilson ticks all those boxes. There's even murmurings that he's been offered a longer-term role beyond playing, perhaps as a coach or mentor or further down the line. That would signal a long-term vision from the board, something that fans have been desperate for. The media's camped out at the gates, phones in hand, waiting for a sign. For now, the club remains tight-lipped, and the players' camp is keeping stoom. But in Scotland, we ken the signs, and when a storm like this gathers pace, it usually ends with fireworks. Until we see him hoisting a scarf above his head, it remains a rumor, but it's one white leg. Aye, Callum Wilson to Rangers might still be just a whisper, but with a whisper it is. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC, and don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.